And we've had a boatload of economic news already this week, and we're just getting started. Tuesday is the second day of US trade talks with China. Wednesday sees GDP numbers in the morning, a crucial Fed decision in the afternoon, and big tech earnings after the bell. Thursday sees more earnings and inflation data, while Friday is Donald Trump's deadline before new tariffs kick in. Plus, it's Jobs Friday for good measure. Richard Quest is here to help us navigate all of this and tell us what is the most significant thing on that list, Richard.
Go back to the list, pull it up again, and I'll sort of give you an idea. So you really got the Fed decision, okay, on Wednesday. Now, they're expected to leave rates alone. They're not expected to lower them, but they're going to be interpreting the data that they'll know about in advance on Friday, particularly the inflation data, on Thursday, and the Friday jobs report. Now, why are those two significant? Because they are the dual mandate. They are both sides, if you will, of the Fed's dual mandate, unemployment and inflation. So when you get that sort of rich data that the Fed will already know about, obviously, when it has its meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday, that will be the best example for why the Fed is moving, and we will get the statement from the Fed that will give us an idea of where they're going next.
There's a chance, isn't there, Richard, that after all the sort of so-called big wins that President Donald Trump is making on the tariff front, that the sort of collective data that could come out of this week could actually show that perhaps he's, backtracking on the economy?
Look, the reality is that the data we've had so far on trade and a lot of price data has reflected the rush to get in goods into the United States before various tariff rules came in. So we really don't know the full effect of the tariffs. As we get more agreements, 15% with the EU, 10% with the UK, 20% with this country, or 15% with that country, who can keep track, then we start to see the hard line numbers. We see the numbers that are going to be baked into the economy for the next 3, 6, 9 months ahead. And then it really does become a case, Christina, of how much of this tariff. I was listening closely to this last interview that you did, 15% tariff. How much of that is going to be eaten by the manufacturer or agricultural producer, by the exporter, by the importer, before eventually being passed on to the US consumer, if at all?
Yeah, that's a good point. We know that the EU is the United States' biggest trading partner. We'll wait and see what happens with China.
What I would also point out is, if the Fed does not move, they're not expected to. Remember, one thing about central banks, never take the market by surprise. Never take the market by surprise. So they've told us pretty much they're not going to move. If they were to move, it would be a shock. Then we can wait for Donald Trump's outburst. It'll be, he's a numbskull, it should have done it, lower the blah, 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 on and on it'll go. But that will be the moment on Wednesday when the Fed doesn't move, Donald Trump explodes, then the market will have seen the data on Thursday and Friday, and we'll have a much better idea of where we're going for the rest of the year.
Yeah, hold on to your hats Wednesday, Thursday. Richard, appreciate you. Thank you very much.